What is web accessibility and why does it matter? As a typical internet user, you are probably watching and listening to this video on your computer or smartphone, which you access by using the mouse or the touch screen on your device. You also likely found this video easily after searching for it or clicking on a relevant link that was shown to you on YouTube. But what about the approximately 15% of the population who experiences some kind of permanent disability? Would they have had as easy an experience when it came to finding and accessing this content? Probably not, but that is part of the reason why web accessibility is so important. Let's talk about what web accessibility is. In the most general sense, accessibility means access. When people are thinking of accessibility for the first time, we may think of a person's ability to access a website. Do they have a compatible device or internet access? Do they have the required username and passwords? And while these are relevant questions and concerns, they aren't exactly what we have in mind when we talk about web accessibility. Instead, we are curious about whether or not a user can access content given their means of navigation and/or the assistive technologies that they use. Put another way, not everyone accesses web content the same way, so it is important that we understand that people use the internet in different ways. With this in mind, we can design and code our websites in a way that they are more accessible to different means of navigation and usage. And while there are many different types of assistive technology, let's talk about one of the most common ones to get an idea of what all this means in practice. Most users will probably use sight as their main form of input when it comes to exploring a website. They will also likely use their mouse or touch events on their mobile device to explore the content. But what about users who cannot see? How will they access the content? Well, this is where assistive technology comes into play. One of the most common assistive technologies is a screen reader. A screen reader enables users to explore a website through hearing or sound. This means that rather than looking at a website, they listen to it. This also means that rather than using the mouse, they will likely use the keyboard to navigate and explore a web page. Or if they are on a mobile device, they will swipe through the content and listen to what is available before double tapping to activate a button or link. In that previous example, we explored a different way that someone might access web content, and that is part of the goal of web accessibility. We want to ensure that we create websites and web products that are built in a way that people with different means of navigation or assistive technology can equally access the content and information. In other words, web accessibility matters because we don't necessarily know how someone might access our content. So we need to keep accessibility best practices in mind and create web products in a way that we don't unintentionally exclude people. The best way that we can ensure that we create an accessible experience is to review the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG for short, which provide guidance on how to create accessible content. These guidelines provide 87 success criteria that you can test against and will help you avoid some of the most common types of accessibility issues. In addition to these criteria, there are also techniques and failures that provide specific methods for how we can test and pass and fail each of the requirements. I would hope that you aren't intentionally excluding anyone from accessing your public websites. Unfortunately, this is something that can happen when we create websites without keeping accessibility in mind. Now let's talk about why web accessibility matters. According to the World Health Organization, it is estimated that 1.3 billion people, or around 16% of the world's population, experiences significant disabilities, and this number will only increase as the world's populations grow. Here are some additional statistics related to the more common types of disabilities. About 17% of the world's population is affected by blindness or visual impairment. This may mean that someone is completely blind, but more likely they have limited vision, so a website may look blurry or be difficult to read, so following a mouse pointer might not be possible. Around 6% of the world's population is affected by deafness or hearing loss, and this can range from not being able to hear anything at all to aging-related hearing loss. Part of this is that as we get older, we tend to not hear as well as we could when we were children. Between 1 and 3% of the world's population has an intellectual disability. This may include conditions like Down syndrome, while 11% of the population has some kind of cognitive disability, which may make navigating the web more difficult. It is estimated that about 1% of the world's population requires a wheelchair, but that number would certainly increase if we were to include other types of mobility devices. And this statistic kind of surprised me, but as many as 8% of men experience red-green color blindness, while about 0.5% of women experience it. To note, this is the most common type of color blindness, but when it comes to the more rarer forms, they affect men and women equally. Unfortunately, people with disabilities are more likely to have other health conditions. They may also have difficulty accessing resources, classes, and they tend to get paid less. And while it is difficult for us to do anything about these obstacles in the physical world, it is critical that we create accessible web experiences so that we contribute to creating a more fair and equal society for everyone. To summarize, web accessibility is about creating experiences that are accessible to everyone, regardless of how they use the web. Not everyone is a visual user. Some users require the ability to zoom into content. Others may not be able to use a mouse and require a keyboard. The key is to not intentionally create obstacles and think about accessibility from the start of our projects. In addition, web accessibility matters because so many people in the world are affected by disabilities, and it is our job as web creators to ensure that we don't further exclude these people. Luckily, web accessibility is something that you can easily learn about and quickly make a part of your day-to-day work. And this means that the web doesn't need to be an inaccessible place. If you have any questions about web accessibility, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, click that like button and subscribe for more content like this.